On today's episode of the Gentle Parenting Show. I am so excited to have Radha Agrawal here. Thank you so much for joining us, Radha.
It's good to be here, Kim. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. So I really wanted to talk about how, because as I was sharing with you, it's so important that we take care of ourselves as parents, particularly in that newborn phase. And I know, you've shared with me that you can't imagine getting through that phase of parenting without your joy practice. So I'm going to talk about what that means, but maybe we could talk about what is a joy practice.
Absolutely. So, when I had my daughter 3 years ago, um, I'd already been sort of building a joy practice. But what is a joy practice? A joy practice is essentially a way to start your day, or a practice, movement, brain body practice that allows you to unlock joy. It allows you to orient your mind and body towards joy. And we look at yoga, the sort of the practice of yoga, the practice of meditation, and that takes you from a place of stress to calm, stress to ease, stress to equanimity. But once you get to that place of I'm calm and I'm easeful, it's that new delta of how do I get from I'm good to I'm in joy, I'm in ecstasy of life.
Yeah.
I'm in a space where I really can just feel the most just joyful sort of beingness. And I think so much of the world of mindfulness can be so focused on ease and calm, when
Yeah.
I think that there's another level of life to be experienced, which is joy. And so, everyone's talking about joy right now, but we've spent the last 8 years really building a joy movement through Daybreaker, our dance community. But then, during COVID, we really thought about, how can we actually convert the dance experience into a daily joy practice? And for me, my daily joy practice, I wake up in the morning, and the first thing I do is I put on 2 songs, then I just allow the music to enter my body, and I just begin swaying. And this I did every morning with my daughter, as a newborn. I would just put her against my chest, and I just would dance with her and sway with her. And as I'm waking up my body, I'm looking at myself in the mirror, and I'm sharing positive affirmations. So affirmations is also a beautiful joy practice. I am beautiful. I am worthy. I'm an amazing mother. I can do this. I am courageous. I am strong. And I think so often we're so focused on the baby that we, again, don't focus on ourselves and pumping ourselves up. We literally are pumping milk out of our boobs and are not pumping ourselves up to be able to produce more milk, which is why so many of us have trouble with our supply. It's just because we're not giving ourselves enough positive affirmation, enough movement towards joy. And it's amazing. Even if I'm exhausted and tired, I sort of pick her up and I just force myself up to get out of bed. I look myself in the mirror, even with my like postpartum body, and I just would give myself love and affirmations and thank my body, dance and sway to the music, allow the music to enter my body, move my hips, move my shoulders, hum to the music, and just allow joy to enter my body. And again, part of a joy practice is orientation, right? It's just like orienting your mind and body towards joy. And a joy practice is starting with that orientation in mind. It's not just, okay, I'm orienting to less stress and more ease, but I'm going to start by orienting to more joy, right? I'm going to start my day with hands up, ecstasy. I'm going to start my day looking for moments to experience more joy. And especially in the first 3 months postpartum, it's just, it's so hard to think of anyone but your baby. But when I did that, it gave me more strength, it gave me more confidence, it gave me more energy to actually be a better mom and be a better parent. And I think my daughter is so much better for it. So a joy practice is everything from breath work to affirmations to dance to tapping practice to nature, forest bathing, walking in nature slowly. It's slow, relaxed movements that aren't about high intensity interval training, which actually the New York Times just came out with a big study that talks about how high intensity interval training is actually bad for you and can cause more stress in your body, and spike your cortisol and create heart
Wow.
arrhythmias and all these things. So gentle movement practices that allow you to what I call glisten rather than sweat, right? Where you're glistening or you're glowing
Mm-hmm.
from
Mm-hmm.
moving your body gently
Mm-hmm.
rather than sweating red-faced, out of breath, you
Right.
know, is just a much more sort of joyful way to be and be in awareness of your brain body needs.
First of all, I love that you use the word glistening. That's the word my mother always uses.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. She's like, we're going to glisten, Kim, not sweat.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I just think that sweating is just, I don't know. I mean, there's obviously a beautiful time and place for it, but
Totally.
I think that the reason why the Japanese are the longest living on the planet,
Mm,
they're the most number of healthy centenaires, 100-plus-year-olds, is
yep.
because there isn't a gym culture in Japan.
Mm,
There isn't a culture of
mm,
excess and extremes.
mm.
It's a culture of, there's a Japanese, I'm half Japanese, harahachi bunme, which means 80%. You eat to 80% full. You exercise to 80%. You move to 80%. You're not trying to go 100,
Oh,
110. In America, it's like, go 200%, to the three,
right.
like, right? It's like, and there's a reason why, we're a much unhealthier society than the rest of the world, both in our minds and in our bodies.
Yeah.
And I think so much of the joy practice looks at holistic joy, not just having
Hmm.
six-pack abs, and
Hmm.
a calm mind, but
Right.
really bringing all of it together and inviting smiles, inviting play, inviting movement, expression, community, belonging into that as well.
And that's so much more aligned actually to the beginning of parenting, right? Because you can't like pop out a baby and be doing interval training, or you probably shouldn't be, you know.
Right.
And also you're not up for it. And we really are supposed to be slowing down and connecting with our baby and taking care of our body and attuning to this new person and what it means to us to be as a parent.
You got
So,
it. You got it. And I literally Googled after I gave birth for like gentle movement practices. Where can I do, things that bring me joy? And there was literally not a single platform place I could go to, which is why we built it ourselves. And so we built a library of hundreds of joy practices that sort of have qigong, slow, sort of um, Eastern European, Eastern Asian practices around
right.
sort of moving your energy. Shinrin yoku in Japanese, which means Japanese forest bathing, to move through nature.
Mm,
There's just so many beautiful, gentle practices that take you to the same place of health for your mind and body without taxing yourself the way
yeah.
so much of the workouts that you
Hmm.
see out there
Hmm. Hmm.
do to you, especially new mothers. So
And I bet you, even though I don't know how you'd study this, but I bet you that's going to have a profound effect on the newborn, whether they're right next to you, hearing the music as an example, and the nature sound, or whether they're on your chest in a carrier while you're moving. It's gotta be.
so it's, you can't even, so my daughter, we listen to music there's not a moment in our home that there isn't music playing.
Hmm.
And she now, even on my phone, she only scrolls to Spotify and she'll find her favorite music and play it. And she has an eclectic, interest in all kinds of music. But I just noticed that she is, music is such a beautiful connector to joy
Hmm.
and to wellness, but it also is such a wonderful math sort of nerd kind of um it just helps newborns and just children in general build a different type of neural pathway that makes them better at learning, at math, at
Hmm.
science. At just like my
Hmm.
daughter can read and write, and she
Hmm.
can paint, and she knows all of her
Hmm.
states, and she knows how to
Hmm.
count. It's just, it's amazing how much music I attribute to her ability to learn
Hmm.
and her ability to express joy. She
Hmm.
dances every day with us. We're not dancers by trade, but
Hmm.
she just loves to dance, and joy is such a north star for our family. and practicing joy because we orient to it, makes it so much more fun
Yeah.
for all of us, the whole family,
Yeah.
not just for the kid, but certainly for me as a mother, for my husband as a father. It's like our goal today is to practice joy together rather than practice, let's say, a movement or a yoga practice, whatever it
Right.
is, though yoga is a joy practice, right? Like we have
Sure.
lots of different joy yoga on our platform. Um, but we have music that goes along with it. There's art. There's so many more sort of aesthetics that you can add to the yoga experience that
Hmm.
then takes it from a mindfulness practice to a joy practice. And
Exactly.
and I think that's the difference. Yeah.
And it sounds like it's just easier to kind of fit into life when it's not like an agenda, like I must do this flow, I must meditate for 15 minutes. I'm experiencing joy and there's lots of ways I can get there.
Exactly. That's
Hmm.
exactly right. There's
Hmm.
hundreds of ways you can get there. And
Hmm.
for me, like MO, my entire MO has been, how can I essentially track down the most potent joy practices on the planet? So how can I track down all the most potent joy practices on the planet,
Hmm.
um, all around the world, so that we can give our community members a variety of things, because not all of us are going to want to do cycling or just like,
Right.
right, like bench press, like one type of
Hmm.
workout. But it's like some of us will want to do
Hmm.
more, just a bit more high glisten,
Yeah.
movement practices. And then some of us might want to do, again, forest bathing or qigong or
Right.
visualization practice or breath work or
Right.
journaling practice or
Right.
learn from a lecture series. So we have dozens of lectures, from Marion Williamson to Chip Conley to just all these amazing, um, um, brilliant teachers who are teaching about joy as well and how to
Yeah.
orient your mind and
Hmm.
body towards it. And I think,
Hmm.
you know, as long as there is an opportunity for someone to step into joy, people want to take it, right? Like whenever I invite someone into a joy practice, it's like, why would I say no to that?
Right.
Right? It's like
Right.
sometimes it's harder to be like, hey, you want to do yoga, or hey, you want to do meditation practice. Like sometimes it's harder,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
to get someone to come in and do these things. But hey, Kim, do you want to come with me and do a quick joy practice? It's like,
Right.
why would you say no?
Right.
Oh, today we're going to do a dance, one song dance party. Oh, let's go and like, skip in the forest together. Oh,
Right.
let's go and let's draw in our journals something that brings us joy, or like doodle our favorite doodles while we speak affirmations to ourselves with every stroke. Like
Yeah.
there's so much in this space of joy that makes life more playful,
Hmm.
that I think in the wellness world, especially, things can be pretty solemn and serious,
Hmm.
and it can take itself very seriously,
Hmm.
and I think
Hmm.
the more joyful we are as parents, the more our children feel that, of
Hmm.
course. And our children, of course, are our biggest teachers, because children laugh, you know, what is it, like 500 times a day, to the adult that laughs a fraction
Right.
of that, per
Right.
day, so.
And also, it's so good for us to, because in a world where everything's so fast and we're constantly connected, but not connected, right? Connected through
Right, totally,
devices or whatever, but
totally.
still lacking deeper connection in community. And then I find a lot of parents tell me it's hard to be kind of quiet and in the moment, and really that's
That's
what
right.
our babies need, and honestly our children too, even if it's like 20 minutes, where we can
That's right.
get on the floor and like be like a kid,
That's
and
right.
skip through the forest, instead of feeling like, oh, I have to be very serious in my parenting.
That's right. That's right. And there's when you're just going through the motions, right? They say time goes so fast. It goes so far. You blink and they're in college. You blink and they're out of the house.
Yeah.
And the more present and in play and enjoy we are with our children, actually, the slower the time
Mm.
is. And so when someone says that to me and my girlfriend, we always say that, actually, when someone's like, it goes so fast, I'm like, no, I'm making it a point for it not to go fast,
Mm.
right? By being deeply in joy with my kid. And so
Yeah.
I love to say, no, I'm letting time be slow. It doesn't go fast for me. Every day with my daughter has been, you know, so present, so connected, so playful, because I'm allowing and orienting, again, my mindset to a joy and be presence to that joy and that play. And so it doesn't have to go fast. It can actually be slow if you let it be, you know.
So, like, let's just break it down to, sort of everyday life. It, you know, let's say you're, a new parent at home and you're on leave from work or your own business. There's your baby, and then you always have this other thing kind of calling on you, so that it's hard to imagine always being in a playful, joyful state. I would imagine.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So the first thing I would say around that is just, oh yeah, it took me probably 6 months to realize that I was, you know, when I was with my daughter, I was thinking about work. When I was at work, I was thinking about my daughter, and it was like extremely disorienting. And it was really after those 6 months that I, again, you know, really started that joy practice and really focused on, no, when I'm here, I'm here. And I'm going to be in play, in joy, in presence with my kid. And when I'm at work, I'm also going to find my joy practice, in the comforts of my creative outlet, and like as a human being, as an adult, right? Like where I'm not going to give all of myself to my kid.
Right.
I'm still a creative being. I want to be creating in the world. I want to be serving in the way that feels good for me. So while I'm here in this space, I'm going to find my joy practice in the creative expression of my work, right? And then I go home, and then I'm in the joy practice of being fully in play and presence with my daughter.
Right.
And so we have a lot of that, these lecture series on Daybreaker Plus. But that, I think, for me, is what really shifted everything, was just the presence, the presence and the orientation to joy. Those are the two things. It's orienting, and then first it's orientation, then it's the practice. And then the practice of joy takes you into presence, right? And I think that's really the order.
And do you usually tell people how, like, what do you say when they say, well, how much time should I dedicate to my joy practice?
So, it can be as little as 11 minutes. Like we call them micro doses, on our platform. We call them doses, like your dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. Your 4 happy neurochemicals spells out the word dose. So you can actually dose yourself on your own natural high, rather than sort of need external substances to give you that serotonin boost or the SRI boost. And so, so we call them 11-minute doses. Our classes are 11 minutes, 22, 33. But yeah, in as little as 11 minutes, like that's all you need it takes 7 minutes to break a sweat, to glisten, to move your body, to really like commit, right? To brain body connection. And then the extra 4 minutes. So it's like 11 minutes. You can do your visualization, you can do your breath work, you can do 1 or 2 song dance party, and then you can do your journaling.
Right.
So so we have a whole morning routine joy practice that we're launching in January.
Fabulous.
That's sort of, it's an 11, 22, and a 33-minute morning routine joy practice that sort of brings all the goodies that we all love. It's a little bit of breath work, a little bit of mindfulness, a little bit of yoga, stretching in the morning, a little bit of dancing, a little bit of journaling, and a little bit of connection, sending a message to a friend that just says, hey, I love you, I miss you. I'm in the vortex of being a mom right now, but I just want you to know that I love you and thinking of you.
Yeah.
And just taking 10 seconds or 1 minute in the morning routine to send an affirmation to a new friend, or, a meaningful friend or colleague or family member with whom you want to connect with. That's such a big critical part of the postpartum experience, is how lonely we feel as women, how lonely we feel in that experience, and how important it is to have a lifeline by reaching out and being told sometimes to reach out. Oh yeah, my joy practice, if you're kind of shy, my joy practice invites me to share love with friends daily, and I thought of you today to send love to.
Right.
Just wanted to, instead of it feeling kind of weird or awkward, sometimes it can be, you can blame it on the joy practice, so giving it an anchor is just really nice. To be able to share love with somebody, and it comes back in spades, and that energy back becomes a lifeline for you as a new
Oh
mother.
my gosh, that's for sure. And I was thinking about how now there's always been so much judgment in parenting and polarizing of parents, and even like, do you co-sleep? Do you not co-sleep? Are you breastfeeding? Are you not breastfeeding? Are you, did you have a C-section? Did you have a natural birth?
Right.
Like all these ways, even though like honestly we're all in the club together. Right.
Right.
And
Right.
so much of it, and then not to mention we have social media that, oh my gosh, she looks like she didn't even just have a baby and everything's fine. Why am I such a wreck? Right.
Right.
Um, and and so I
Totally.
think that could be a way to break out of that. I would imagine you'd have to pick your people, that are supportive and loving and aren't coming from a judgmental place to create your tribe.
That's right. That's right. And so I started actually a community on WhatsApp called Modern Mamas.
Hmm.
And it's just I invited when I was 3 months pregnant, and like my husband wasn't, there's no hormonal change in
Hmm.
him, but I had all these hormonal changes happening in
Hmm.
me. And I was like, nobody understands what I'm going through, including my
Right.
husband, and all this
Yeah.
sort of feeling of loneliness. Even if I wrote a book called Belong, and I'm a community builder by trade, community architect by trade, there's such a depth of loneliness that you feel in the first several months of
Yeah.
your pregnancy
Mhm.
because your hormones are
Mhm.
raging and nobody understands
Mhm.
you. And so instead of like taking that on him and just like all of the sort of,
Mhm.
emotional
Mhm.
imbalance, I just was like, no, I don't want to do that. Let me start a WhatsApp
Mhm.
community. As I just invited, 15 moms that I knew, who just had sort of newborns or 1 year olds, and I just, or a couple,
Mhm.
different age groups, and invited this WhatsApp group. And that has become, there's now 75 women in this community, and it's a lifeline. Like when I have a new friend that has a baby, I throw her right on to the WhatsApp, and she's just like, Radha, this thing has saved my
Oh,
life, because
love that.
it's just because like you just have a question to ask him having with trouble with sleep,
Mhm.
and it's like, boom, here's like 15 women who jump in. Here's what I
Right.
did. What do you think? Co-sleeping or not
Right.
co-sleeping? 15 different women will respond with their
Mm.
points of view, so you can get to decide what what everyone did for
Mhm.
themselves. And I think that's another thing that is hilarious. Like so many of my friends who are on this WhatsApp thread were like, "Oh man, I wish I would have done that when I was 3 months
Mhm.
pregnant. I wish I would have done." And it's just so easy to do. And this is why I wrote my book
Mhm.
Belong, because I just was like, building a community is so easy. You just have to
Start it.
start.
Yeah.
Just open up your WhatsApp thread, invite 10 people
Mhm.
on it, and just say, hey, I'm inviting these women, all of you badass
Mhm.
moms who are both professionals and moms. I need help.
Mhm.
Can we just be a forum of women to support one
Mm.
another? Oh my God, thank you for yes, 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 yes. And that's it. And then game on. And now you have a
Right.
lifeline. And
Right.
it's been such a lifeline. I think people just don't realize what agency we have
Mhm.
to do that.
Yeah.
And especially as moms, as a tribal group of
Yeah.
women who have now somehow been relegated to white picket fences in our own individual homes rather than the village
Mhm.
experience where the village raises the
Mhm.
child. We have forgotten the matriarchy. We've
Yeah.
forgotten the women that are here to support
Yeah.
one another. So I'm super excited
Yeah.
about, um, yeah, about just open sourcing and sharing all that I did as a
Mhm.
mom, how it's been such a lifeline for me. And I want, women to know that they have the agency to do that
I
too, new
love
mothers
that.
especially.
I don't know if you've read the book The Red Tent, but it was about, centuries ago when all the women they sometimes shared a husband and had different roles, and
Yep.
then when they're menstruating they went into the red tent, and there they were all equal, and rubbed each other's feet and sang and shared lures. And I remember when that book came out, it was quite a long time ago now. So many of my girlfriends and I were like, where is the red tent? we, and
Exactly.
so we have to create one, and it can be as simple as a WhatsApp thread. I love that. Not complicated.
That's it.
Hmm.
No, it literally, and every Halloween I'm like, all right, everybody throw up photos of your little ones for Halloween. And it's like 50
Yeah.
women shared images
Yeah.
of their kids' Halloween
Hmm.
costumes, and they're all over the
Hmm.
world, now. And or I'm like, hey, how's everyone feeling? Whatever, like what's going on with them. And everyone will just share like just like little quick snippets of how they're
Hmm.
feeling. And it's so easy. That's the red tent. I love that analogy. It's
Yeah.
perfect. And
Yeah. It's
yeah,
safe.
and when we do that for each
Mhm.
other, it feels it's not only safe, but also like it really feels like you're held.
Yes.
And it's so hard. Like when I was wheeled out, I had a C-section
Mm.
emergency, and I was just like pushed out of the hospital holding my baby as a
Oh,
first-time mom with like a giant
yeah.
cut, like through 6 layers
Yeah.
of skin and muscle and
Mhm.
tissue. And I'm holding this baby and I'm like looking around, I'm like feeling like I'm stealing a
Right.
thing I have no idea how to
Right.
take care of as I'm leaving the
Right.
hospital. And it was, and I hadn't had this WhatsApp group. I know I would have
Yeah.
crumbled. So I just was like, all right, what do I do? How do I
Yeah.
do this? And I just like so much love and support. And we had women who organized a meal plan for me as well. So I had every meal
Oh.
taken care of, and I can send you that in the show
Mhm.
notes. I'm sure you have that,
Mhm.
but I can share with you an Excel doc, a Google Excel doc of just how simple it is to do a meal plan for new moms. So
Yes.
every breakfast, lunch, and dinner, friends can put their names into their
Oh,
slots, and then they're responsible for just sending over the
right.
meal, ordering the food
Right.
online and sending over the meal to your house for the first 3
Yeah.
weeks. So like that type of sisterhood is
Yeah.
just so key and feels so good to not have to think about how I'm going to feed
Right.
myself and my kid when
Right.
I'm just
Right.
getting out of the
And
hospital,
that
so
feeds your joy,
yeah.
is having your tribe.
Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
Yes, yes, and I think and I say that you cannot experience joy without
Yeah.
belonging, and you just cannot experience joy without your
Mm.
community. You
Mm.
cannot. We are spectacularly social
Yeah.
creatures, humans. We were born of another human. We, as much as we meditate, as much as we work on belonging to
Yeah.
ourselves, there is no such thing. We cannot experience the
Yeah.
depths of joy without being in relation to another
Mhm.
person. And so the joy practice is anchored by a
Yeah.
community, right? So you
Mhm.
cannot practice
Mhm.
joy, right,
Mhm.
truly I mean, yes, you can do it at home in the comforts of your home, but to know that there's a
Mhm.
community doing
Yeah.
it with you, holding you accountable. We have monthly
Mhm.
accountability groups on Zoom that I hold. So everyone comes on Zoom and we talk about how our joy practice
Right.
is going, what they're struggling with, how they can be supported, where their patterns are showing up that are not serving them, and how we can support their joy. There's a beautiful monthly accountability coaching that we do
Love it.
to help everyone feel like they're
Mhm.
held. Like even if they're doing the practice
Mhm.
on their own at
Yeah.
home, right? Every month there's going to be me and our team there to be like, all right, Kim, where are you at?
Mhm.
How we doing? Is everyone
Mhm.
good? And it just
Mm.
feels
Mm.
very held that
I
way,
love that. I think that I love the
So
both, so for everyone listening, right, that importance of community and a joy practice, and that together they're stronger in a sense, right? What they feed each other.
right. Like imagine a
Mhm.
pyramid. Yeah, exactly. It's like I rewrote in my book, I rewrote Maslow's
Mhm.
hierarchy of needs. He wrote his hierarchy of needs in 1943, where lots had not been discovered
Yeah.
or researched in the world of belonging. So, anyways, I rewrote his hierarchy of needs, but I put belonging in the base of
Mhm.
the pyramid is as important as
Mhm.
food, water, and shelter. Because if you don't belong,
Yeah.
it's as harmful to your physical health as being an
Mhm.
alcoholic. It's twice as harmful as
Mhm.
obesity. Not belonging actually takes away 15 years of lifespan. It makes you more susceptible to sickness.
Mm.
There's just so much that's connected to I don't
Right.
belong that we don't even
Right.
realize, right? And the tip of the
Mhm.
pyramid is joy.
Mhm.
It's almost like once you've actually taken care of belonging
Mhm.
at the base, you can move up to purpose, and you can move up to, right, to all these other parts of your life. But then at the top of
Mhm.
it is joy. At the tip of the top is collective joy.
Ooh.
So
Uh-huh.
individual joy is one piece of
Uh-huh.
it, but collective joy.
Wow.
Imagine, you know, your wedding day on the wedding dance floor is like the best days of our lives are spent typically on the
Mhm.
dance floor, typically, at your wedding, at a wedding, at someone's New Year's celebration, at a
Mhm.
birthday celebration, at some ecstatic moment in your life. The pinnacle moment is in
Oh,
collective
that's so
joy.
true.
And so we talk about in Daybreaker, Daybreaker IRL, we throw dance parties all over the world in person in real life. That's your time to practice collective
Mhm.
joy. And then you have Daybreaker Plus, or joy practices
Mhm.
online, which is where you practice
Mhm.
individual joy. You actually build up your own stamina. You
Mhm.
build up your own
Mhm.
system in your
Mhm.
microdoses, and morning
Mhm.
joy routines, so that when you
Mhm.
come out into these community experiences, you're already sort of so
Yeah.
full of your own individual joy that you can even show up
Wow.
more authentically, more
Mm.
yourself, less
Mhm.
self-conscious, less, in states of social
Mhm.
anxiety, that most people, self-label themselves as, which I also find to be
Mhm.
fascinating.
Mhm.
Um, and 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 give yourself the opportunity to experience the depths and ecstasy of
Ugh,
collective joy.
I love that. I love how you connected all of that. Maybe we could just have a couple more minutes of talking about Daybreaker Plus. I'm a member, and I know my experience. I took my happiness quiz that helped give me my dose, and so each day I go into it. But maybe tell everybody else about that, particularly how you could see new parents
Yeah,
using it.
totally. So we partnered with the Greater Good Science Center in UC Berkeley out of California to develop a science-backed quiz, a
Hmm.
joy quiz, so that we can personalize every single person's
Hmm.
joy practice. Because your Kim West's joy practice will be different from my Radha Agrawal's joy
Hmm.
practice will be different from every
Hmm.
listener out there's joy practice. So step one was, let's learn what's going on
Hmm.
with you in
Hmm.
your joy space. Where are you experiencing joy? Where do you need the most support in your dose, your dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins? And for each one of these, dopamine is like in your purpose and your flow state, in your oxytocin, in your
Hmm.
connection with others, in
Hmm.
your intimacy, in your sense of relationship with other people. That's your oxytocin, your serotonin, in your sense
Hmm.
of gratitude, in your sense of um, of kindness and um, again, sort of ease and emotional
Hmm.
stability. And then your endorphins, which is through awe and play and all of that. So we sort of analyze your joy through the lens of kind of how
Hmm.
you live your life. And then we spit out a
Hmm.
prescription of joy
Hmm.
practices for you. So then you go on our on our platform on Daybreaker Plus, and we have 350 and counting. We're constantly filming
Hmm.
new ones every week in our
Hmm.
studio behind me, and we have hundreds of joy practices. So based on your prescription, you'll go and say, okay, great, I need 3 parts dopamine every month, 2 parts oxytocin every month, which means 3 parts means 3 classes every month of dopamine, 2 classes of oxytocin, 4 classes of serotonin, 3 classes of endorphins. And then you'll start sort of organizing your month of classes based on your
Hmm.
neurochemical needs, right? And so it's a really fun kind of gamified way of really sort of executing
Hmm.
on your prescription, because it's so
Hmm.
personalized. And then we have a community to hold you
Hmm.
accountable. So like I said, every month we invite all of our community members to come on Zoom, which I
Hmm.
lead. I mean, I invite someone
Hmm.
exciting every month. So whether it's Dr. Mark Hyman or
Hmm.
Esther Perel or the founder of Equinox, Lavinia
Hmm.
Errico, or
Hmm.
so many different
Hmm.
guests. We'll have them on every single month to sort of be there, to hold our community accountable, to have a salon
Hmm.
conversation around what joy
Hmm.
means through nutrition. Let's say
Hmm.
it's Dr. Hyman, through
Hmm.
wellness with Lavinia, through relationship, love and sex with
Yeah.
Esther Perel. So we would sort of have these types of conversations that are really touch on its
Yeah.
connection to joy. And then we'll have a Q&A with the community, and then of course an accountability moment where everyone can break out in groups to share what brought them the most joy
Yeah.
this month. So it's a wonderful community. Kim, you're probably going to get your invitation to the first Zoom call
Fun.
shortly.
Fun.
Um, but that's it. And then the whole idea is Daybreaker. Like, we were around for 8 years now. Daybreaker is our actual event. So once you've joined the Daybreaker Plus community, which, by the way, you get 2 free tickets to Daybreaker IRL, you get discounts to our events, you
Hmm.
get invitations to all
Hmm.
sorts of things as well as part of the
Hmm.
family membership. But but then you'd get invited to all of our IRL events as well, which are just these magical dance parties at sunrise. So we do these sunrise
Hmm.
sober dance parties
Hmm.
all over the world and in iconic
Hmm.
locations. So think waking up at sunrise and dancing at the top
Hmm.
of the World Trade Center, or dancing at the Sydney Opera House, or dancing at the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C., or dancing at, the White House, which we've also danced in. So
Can't wait.
we partner with iconic locations to dance in, and imagine an intergenerational community coming together to practice joy together, practice collective joy together on the dance floor. So it's a peak life experience every single month. And actually in 2022, we're doing 4 10-city tours all around the country. And we're making the big announcement in the next few weeks here, but we're doing 40 events next year around the country. And the whole entire year's the tour is oriented to joy. So it's the Joy Tour
Oh,
for
I can't wait.
2022.
I'm definitely
Yeah.
coming to one of
So
them, maybe more. DC, and I'll come
DC,
up to
yeah.
New York too.
Yes, please. DC for sure. New York.
So
You
great.
have to.
Good. Well,
Yeah, you
I'm also
absolutely
going to
have to.
share on another podcast, my experience with Daybreaker. Maybe so I'm going to somehow figure out how to show them, kind of what it looks like. Because it's also fun, every morning to go into it and be like, what do I want to do today? Do I want to do yoga? Do I want to do breath work? Do I want to dance? Do I want to, do meditation? So it's been, and it's also kind of fun to like mix it up, mix up my practice.
Exactly. Not do the same
Mm-hmm.
thing every day. It's like I don't always want to go on a
Right.
bicycle every single day. Like I don't always want to go on a yoga mat every single day. Like I want to do that sometimes. I want to be on a bike so to give people the optionality, but in a way that's again gentle and fun and oriented to joy. It just gives it a different lens. I don't call it a workout, right?
Right.
It's a play practice. It's a joy
I
practice.
love this. I can't
Right?
wait to
So,
share this with
yeah.
all the new parents, both in my next book and on my website and through this podcast. Thank you so much for joining me, Radha. And we will share with everybody who's listening on sleeplady.com/podcast all the ways that you can find out about Daybreaker Plus. Maybe we'll get that Excel sheet and some of the other great things from your book, Radha, and how to follow Radha and learn more about all the things that she's doing. So thank you again. Blessings.